Welcome to Vishnunadiastro. Today we are going to understand one of the deepest spiritual and psychological teachings hidden inside the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the divine story of Gajendra Moksha. Before entering into the story, we must first understand something about human life itself. Most people do not come to astrology when their life is comfortable. They come when something inside them breaks, when there is a financial loss or betrayal or divorce cases, court cases, humiliation, disrespect, or the fear of health, emotional pain, anxiety, depression, and loneliness. In Jyotish, these experiences are deeply connected to the 8th house. The 8th house is not merely the house of death. It is the house of hidden karma, fear, helplessness, emotional darkness, sudden transformation, psychological fearing, and spiritual awakening. In fact, many people begin seeking spirituality only when life shakes their ego and worldly confidence. And this is why the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam becomes very important. It teaches us how suffering can become a doorway towards surrender, wisdom, and inner transformation. This is not merely a mythological story, it is a spiritual mirror of the human life. And today we are going to understand this story not only as Bhagavatam but also through the lens of Jyotish, karma, psychology, and practical life. Let us begin. In the middle of the divine Milky Ocean stood a magnificent Trikuta mountain. It had 3 radiant peaks made of gold, silver, iron, shining brilliantly across the heavenly regions. At the foothills of this sacred mountain was a divine garden belonging to Varunadeva. The garden was filled with fragrant flowers, beautiful trees, humming bees, singing birds, and a crystal clear lotus lake. The entire place appeared peaceful, beautiful, and full of enjoyment. This lake represents our worldly life itself. At first, life appears attractive: relationships, comfort, money, success, family, dreams, status, and pleasures. All seems beautiful and calm on the surface. One day, the mighty elephant, King Gajendra, entered this lake along with his entire herd. Exhausted from the heat and the thirst, he joyfully entered the cool waters, drank deeply, and began enjoying the comfort of the lake. But hidden beneath the calm waters was a crocodile. Suddenly, the crocodile tightly caught the Gajendra's leg. This crocodile represents our hidden karmas and sudden sufferings of life. The person may be living happily and suddenly his business collapses, his relationship will break, his trust is lost, health issues begins, legal problems arise, mental stress increases, then life becomes emotionally unbearable. This is how the karma suddenly catches us also. Now, there is another important hidden teaching in this story. The struggle between the Gajendra and crocodile continued for more than 1,000 years. Some people may immediately question, how is that possible? Can anyone really struggle for 1,000 years? Is it real or mythology? But we should understand something subtle thing here. This incident did not happen on our earthly plane alone. It is described as taking place in the higher realms and divine lokas, where the timeline may be entirely different from our lokas or our earth. Even our scriptures explain that time moves differently in different lokas. What appears as many years on the earth may be a short duration in another realm or another loka. So, instead of getting stuck only in literal calculation, we should understand the deeper meaning. The real teaching is this: some karmic struggles continue for a very long time. Certain sufferings are not temporary because they are connected to deeper karmic impressions carried across lifetimes. Now, Bhagavatam gives another profound background about this suffering of the Gajendra. In their previous births, both this Gajendra and crocodile were actually Gandharvas. They used to play childish pranks on great sage. Whenever the sage entered the river for the bath, one Gandharva would take form of the crocodile and pull his leg or frighten him. Another Gandharva would take the form of an elephant and scare the sage when he comes out of the water. At first, they treated it as an entertainment. But after repeated disturbance, the sage realized through his spiritual vision that these were Gandharvas disrespecting the sage. The sage then cursed them. You both shall become the very forms you mock and suffer through them. Because of that curse, one took the birth of Gajendra the elephant and the other took the birth as crocodile. Now understand the deeper meaning here. Many people ask, why am I suffering? Why did this happen to me? Why is life unfair? Bhagavatam teaches that not every suffering begins in the present time alone. Some karmas are very old. Some emotional struggles, relationship patterns, fears, losses, and humiliation may arise from deeper karmic impressions carried across the lifetimes. And just as Gajendra struggled for 1,000 years, human beings too struggle mentally for years, carrying the fear, resentment, anxiety, attachment, guilt, and emotional pain. Now, observe another beautiful symbolism here. The elephant is powerful on the land. The crocodile is powerful inside water. Similarly, human beings are strong when the mind is stable. But when the mind is trapped inside the emotional confusion, fear, attachment, ego, and overthinking, suffering becomes stronger. At first, Gajendra fought with all his physical strength. Similarly, human beings first try to solve everything through their control, anger, ego, panic, overthinking, emotional reactions. But after a certain point, the exhaustion begins. Then comes the helplessness. This is the real turning point. At that moment, when all his physical strength failed, Gajendra remembered the spiritual wisdom from his previous birth as King Indrajumna. This is extremely important. Even one sincere spiritual practice done in the past never goes waste. In the moments of crisis, those punyas awaken us. Then Gajendra stopped depending only on his strength and completely surrendered to Srihari. Holding a lotus flower in his trunk, he raised it towards the sky and prayed, Narayano Akyaguru Bhagavan Namaste. Narayana, Supreme Lord, the Universal Guru, I surrender before you. But Gajendra's prayer was not merely a cry of fear. He remembered the countless ways in which the Supreme God has protected the creation through his divine incarnations. And through that remembrance, faith awakened inside him. Gajendra remembered, Lord, when creation was drowning in the cosmic waters, you came as a Matsya Avatara and protected life and wisdom. When the great mountain began shaking during the churning of the ocean, you came as Purma Avatara and protected the burden upon your back. When the Mother Earth disappeared into the darkness beneath the waters, you appeared as Varaha Avatara and lifted her with compassion. When Prahalada was tortured by Hiranyakashipu and nobody could protect him, you appeared as Narasimha Avatara and destroyed the arrogance to save your devotee. When King Bali's power disturbed the cosmic balance, you came as Vamana Avatara and restored Dharma through the humility and wisdom. When the cruel rulers spread adharma, you appeared as Parsurama to remove the destructive arrogance. When Ravana oppressed the worlds through ego and desire, you incarnated as Sri Rama and demonstrated the righteousness and patience. When confusion and emotional conflict filled the human life, you appeared as Sri Krishna and guided the humanity through wisdom, devotion, and divine love. When humans suffered through ignorance and violence, You appeared as Buddha to teach the compassion and awareness. And in the future, when darkness completely dominates the world, you will appear as Kalki Avatara and to restore the righteousness once again. In this way, Gajendra was not merely chanting the names. He was remembering, if the Lord protected the creation in every age, He can also protect me. This is the true meaning of the prayer. Prayer is not a blind fear. Prayer is the remembrance of the divine grace. Today, many people lose hope very quickly. The moment suffering comes, they feel abandoned. But Bhagavatam teaches us the divine has always guided the humanity through darkness. No suffering remains forever. No night is permanent. And no sincere prayer goes unheard. Moved by the Gajendra's complete surrender, Srihari immediately arrived upon Garuda. The Lord rescued the Gajendra from the grip of suffering and liberated both the crocodile and the Gajendra from their karmic bondage. This is another profound truth. Sometimes even painful situations become instruments for spiritual awakening. Many people later realize failure made them wiser, heartbreak made them spiritual, illness increased their gratitude, loneliness brought them closer to God, suffering reduced the arrogance. This is the way. Eighth house is not merely about suffering. It is about transformation. Now, let us conclude the most important practical teaching from the Gajendra Moksha. This becomes a universal spiritual remedy. The greatest lesson from the Gajendra is this: when a suffering becomes intense, do not allow the mind to drown in fear alone. Turn the mind towards divine remembrance, especially during Brahma Muhurta, the sacred time before sunrise, when the mind is naturally calm and spiritually receptive. Sit quietly and remember this prayer of Gajendra and surrender to Lord Vishnu. Meditate upon his Dashavataras. Vishnu protected the creation again and again in different ages. How he removed the darkness, restored the dharma, protected the devotees, and lifted them from the suffering. As you remember each avatar with sincerity, slowly the mind begins to develop courage, clarity, emotional stability, patience, faith, and inner strength. This is not merely a ritual. It is the transformation of our consciousness. If a person sincerely practices this daily for at least 21 days during Brahma Muhurta, before the sunrise, in silence and devotion, the mind gradually becomes purified from negativity, fear, confusion, and emotional heaviness. The eighth house primarily rules our hidden fear. And the greatest protection against fear is not the external control, it is the inner surrender and divine remembrance. So, whether you are suffering from financial loss, court case, emotional pain, betrayal, mental restlessness, anxiety, you can practice this remedy. You do not need wealth, you do not need complicated rituals, you do not need any deep or knowledge of astrology. All you need is sincerity. Sit quietly, remember Sri Hari, remember the Dashavataras, or if not possible, read or listen to Gajendra Moksha, pray with humility. And slowly, just like the Gajendra was lifted from the waters of suffering, the human mind will begin to rise above fear and restlessness. This is the true blessing hidden inside the 8th canto of Bhagavatam. Om Namo Narayanaya. If you found this video informative, then please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Please turn on the notification bell as well.